Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you for coming by my channel today. I am participating in a hop with the Close to My Heart Twisted Sisters. What we like to do for this hop is take something out of the new Close to My Heart catalog. This is from October, November, and December, and use one of the products in a way that's a little bit twisted or unexpected. So these papers here are from the Freshly Baked paper collection, and you can see they really have a holiday baking theme to them. But I'm going to use these ones here. These are the reverse sides of some of them, which are just some neutral patterns. And I pulled them because I think that the colors go really well with my daughter's soccer jersey. So I'm going to make a double page scrapbooking layout for, these are some photos from 2 of her games. Now I am going to do this double page based on pattern 19 out of the Make It From Your Heart Volume 5 pattern book. I'm also going to pull in this one extra piece of paper from the Mix In paper collection just because it has that same red, and I think I might want to work that in to my layout. Okay, so I love that I can look at exactly what colors are used in the paper collection and pull those coordinating ink pads. So using my Mocha ink pad, I am going to edge distress most of these papers, and I am really kind of going for a bit of a really distressed look. So I'll show you here in a second. I'm really going to angle my ink pad down. You can see this here, how it leaves those streaks on the paper. That's what I want. So I don't want just a little bit of color on the edge, but I really want that color coming into the paper itself. I thought that kind of went along with my soccer photos since, we are outside and it's a little bit muddy and dirty. So without making it look, gross dirty, but just kind of going along with that muddy sort of theme for soccer. So that was how I was just dressing a lot of those photos, really trying to get that brown ink onto the paper. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with that, my blue paper there, if I want to put the brown ink on it or not. So I'm going to just kind of lay some things out on my base page first so I can kind of get a visual idea of how this page is coming together. And once I've done that, I've decided that, I don't want to do that brown ink distressing there. I think what I'm going to do instead is pull out a sanding block. And then I also want to use, this is from the Slimline Shaker Window thin cut set. I want to use this inner piece here to just cut a little something interesting into my strip of paper that's supposed to be tucked underneath that piece of cardstock. So you can see that my strip of paper that this pattern calls for is longer than what the thin cut is itself, but that's fine. I'm going to show you how I can make this cut a little bit longer and still keep that fun stitched edge and scalloped edge that the thin cut's going to put into my paper. So I'm going to use some washi tape to hold this down in place where I want it. And then when I make my sandwich for my die cutting machine, I am making sure that the end of that die cut is hanging off of the edge, because that's really the part that cuts the paper in two. So you can see here, I've just run this through once, and so it's still attached, and that's exactly what I wanted. Now I can finish cutting it and make it a little bit longer. So I'm going to line that die cut back up, and it just kind of like falls into place when you nestle it in. So it's not hard to do. And then that way I can use my washi tape again to hold that in place. And then now I will have that fun little detail on this little strip of paper that, like I said, gets tucked into the bottom of that cardstock piece. So rather than just having plain strip, it's got a little bit of a scallop, a tiny scallop to it, and then also a stitching detail. So now I can run this through, and I don't want to mess up the part that has already cut. So what I'm going to do here is when I go to lay this down and make my sandwich, I'm going to put a little piece of washi tape on the top part of my sandwich so that I can see exactly how far in I need to send this into my die cutting machine. And then I can just stop right there and back it right back out. So that was just kind of the way that I did it to make sure that it cut perfectly and didn't make any mistakes. And sure enough, it worked like a dream. This is not something that I think to do very often, but it really was very simple. And I think I'm going to try using this trick a little bit more often because that was just a fun little detail and I really liked the way that it looked on this page. Okay, so I'm ready to start assembling my pieces here. This is a really simple layout to follow. I love using pattern books because I just pull my papers, I cut them to the dimensions that it says, and then boom, 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 you put it together on your base page. And you can just get right to the fun part, which is the embellishing. So I'll go ahead and start laying some of these pieces down. And then, like I said, I was looking at this, what is this? This is the mist color, I think, or Seabrook. No, this is Seabrook. I take that back. This is the new color Seabrook. I didn't want to put that mocha edge distressing on there with ink, so I used my sanding block and instead just kind of sanded the color off of the edge of it. Again, kind of going for that rough distress look because they're soccer pictures and we're outside and they're getting crazy and dirty running around in the grass, right? Okay, so continuing to assemble now that I've got that ready to go. You'll notice that I do have that strip kind of hanging off the edge of my paper there. That's because I'm just going to trim that so that way when I build my right-hand page, it'll just look like one continuous piece of that fun little scalloped edge rather than having two separate ones. So, okay, now that I've got all of those parts and pieces assembled, I did leave these here loose so that I can move them around. I want to address some of this white space around here because it's really kind of bothering me. So I'm taking this little scrap that I have still from this paper collection, and I'm just looking to see if I like it tucked in there. That's not what the pattern calls for, so that's something extra. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of ink blending to the white space to the right and the left of my photos. Oh, get my kitten out of the way. I just got two brand new kittens, and my one Petunia really likes to get on my pages. It's kind of irritating. All right, and then I pulled this stamp set from my stash. I liked that it has the word goals on it, and I think that might be kind of a fun play on words for a title for the soccer layout. All right, I don't actually have any toffee ink. Every time I go to use something like toffee paper, I think to myself, why don't I have toffee ink? I really like that color. So I have almond, which is just kind of a lighter shade. So I'm using a blending brush and picking up a little bit of that almond ink and just kind of creating that little smush of color over there to the side just to break up some of that white space. I don't want to add too much color because even though I'm kind of going for that distressed, outdoorsy sort of look, I also don't want it to look like gross dirty. So just kind of getting just a little something over there to the side, and then I will stamp my title over there later once I've kind of figured all of that out. All right, I'm going to repeat that same process over here on the right-hand side, getting just a little bit of color into that white space to break it up. And yeah, so just kind of moving my piece back over here just to make sure that I like the way it looks. And then what I do when I'm done with my ink blending is I just take my blending brush over to the sink and I run it under water, and it comes right out. It cleans up beautifully. So I don't worry too much about having 10 million brushes for every single ink color that I own. They just wash up really nicely and they dry pretty quickly. I just leave them sitting out on my desk overnight, and then I can use them again with a different color. All right, so since I didn't put any ink distressing on that extra bit of paper that I stuck up there, I thought I would do a little bit of ruffling just to give it some texture and dimension and make it kind of stand out from that white paper that it's on. So I am just taking my fingers and pushing down on the edge. I made sure not to put adhesive right up to the edge of that so that I would have some space to do it, and I really like the way that that turned out. Okay, so now it's time for my title. And like I said, I just found this stamp. It's something older that I had in my stash. And I thought it would be fun to play on the word goals since this is all about the soccer games. And this is new for my daughter. She's never played soccer before. This fall has been really fun. She's just kind of a natural at it, but obviously it's something that she's still learning. So I just put things down there, about learning a new sport and making friends and having fun. So that was kind of what I was going to use for my title. And then I wanted to bring out that red color just a little bit more. So I took the other side of the one paper that I had used, and I used a heart die cut to cut out a bunch of these stitched hearts. And I thought that maybe I would scatter them around the page So I kind of fuss with that for a little bit with exactly where to put them. I do want to make sure that I am creating that visual triangle, which is why I like to have both pages in front of me when I do this, so that way I can kind of see the big picture. And then I also am planning to put my journaling on some strips. And I'm turning to the sticker sheet here because there is a cute little sticker that has some X's on it in that same red color. And I thought, well, I can use that as I'm trying to bring it in. And then there's this other one here. There are a couple little ones down here. Most of them have to do with baking because this is a holiday baking paper pack that I am twisting to use in a different way. But there are definitely some that I think will work for this soccer layout. So I'm just going to kind of set that one over there to the side that says "So Sweet," and I will use that one with my heart. Okay, I also have, these are the freshly baked dots. Well, I shouldn't say dots. They actually have stars and hearts on them as well, but they're just like the little enamel embellishment pieces that are in the same colors as what is in this paper pack. So I'm going to scatter some of the toffee colored ones around where I have my heart clusters, and I'm using different sizes. So just kind of picking and choosing and then putting some in each of my 3 points for my visual triangle. And then you can see over here in my journaling space, I have added some strips of French vanilla paper where I can do my writing. But I thought that that looked a little plain. So I went into my stash again and found a little stamp that has, it's just like a row of dotted lines. And I thought that it would be fun to stamp that on my journaling strips as kind of like a place to put my writing on. So it looks like lined strips. So I'm using my sticky note here just to kind of mask off the end since my stamp is a little bit longer than some of those strips. And I really like the way that this ends up looking. It's just like a little tiny something extra, but I like the way that it looks. And then because I did do all of that ink edge distressing on my other papers, I thought I would go ahead and add it to my base pages. And again, you can see I'm really kind of angling my ink pad there to get some of that color onto the paper itself and not just the very edges. And I think that that's pretty much it. So I am always so impressed with the other ladies who participate in this hop. They are so creative and they are such good out-of-the-box thinkers. So I will leave a playlist down below so that you can check out everyone else who's already gone before me. Again, we are taking something new from the October, November, and December Close to My Heart catalog and just showing different ways that you can use products outside of their intended uses. I hope you guys have felt inspired and enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for coming by my channel today, and I will see you later. Have a great day. Happy crafting!